Aviation is a remarkable tool in the mission world.
It's helping us advance the gospel in a way never thought possible.
And we're reaching people groups in some of the most isolated areas in the world.
Trips that once took a considerable investment of time.
Weeks by foot,
Days by boat.
In areas with no roads and unforeseen dangers.
These trips are now dramatically reduced by the use of an aircraft.
As families pursuing missionary aviation, we know it's not just about being good stewards of time.
It's not just about the transportation of equipment or personnel.
Not just about being a grocery supplier or bringing in medical supplies.
It's about being a resource and serving missionaries in isolated areas.
It's about being an encouragement.
A friend.
Help when the task seems overwhelming.
a shoulder to lean on,
to cry on.
It's about being whatever it takes to ensure that the gospel is brought to the uttermost ends of the earth.
As men and women preparing for this role, we want to know how other pilot mechanic families have served well.
To apply those same principles to our ministries.
So we sat down and asked those who would know best, veteran missionaries who have served on the field for years.
All with first-hand knowledge.
All willing to better prepare us through their stories and experiences.
My name is George Walker, and my wife Harriet and I served for 18 years in Papua New Guinea amongst the Basodio tribal people.
We worked with several aviation families during our time there in Papua New Guinea. They were a huge source of blessing, encouragement.
Their ministry that they're launching into is indeed a godsend, and I know that from firsthand experience.
They can be a source of encouragement and blessing and a part of getting the gospel to unreached people groups, and there's no greater privilege.
And we were blessed to have aviation families as part of our journey, part of our teamwork, and seeing the Basodios not only come to Christ, but to grow in Christ.
It's taken us a while to get to where we are now. 10 years.
10 years.
11 years.
Since 1998.
But when we view those years in light of eternity, it's far more than worthwhile.
One day, we're going to worship around the throne of God.
And we'll realize the individual standing right next to us may never have even heard of their Savior.
If we hadn't been a small part of bringing the gospel to them.
So.
How will you choose to be a part?
A missionary said, "What makes an airplane fly?" Different people answered and said things like, "Well, it's the wind going over the wing that makes an airplane fly." And he said, "No, it's money."
Here in the Philippines, we've mostly been flying for church planters who have been working here for a long time. We've come in and come alongside their works where they're involved in Bible translation for the most part. And the church planting work that they did is mostly complete. What we've started seeing more and more over the last 6 years is that these churches of national believers are sending out their own missionaries. And so we're in a really neat place right now where we want to come alongside the national church as a flight program and to be able to really serve them.
New Tribes Mission in the Philippines has a lot of missionaries. They can do a lot of things in tribal places. But one of the problems that we are facing is to support financially these missionaries who are willing to go to tribal places where only aviation could help us to bring missionaries to those places.
I was challenged by the white missionaries, reaching Filipinos in bringing the gospel. The Lord needs people who's going to bring His message to the tribal people in reaching the Langilan Manobo beyond those mountains. It's also a big challenge for me. A day's hike is not an easy task.
The monthly wage here in the Philippines is roughly 10% of the daily wage back in North America. But imagine if one trip in the helicopter would cost you your entire month's support. Because of that, anytime there's a big expense like this, what do we do as partners? I can afford to get the helicopter for me. but I don't think I could afford to do it for our whole team.
There's many different people that are involved in the work. It's not just the people that are on the ground. We're part of a larger team. Some of that team is made up of Filipinos. For example, Johnny McCod, one of our national missionaries here, if he were able to come in and out of here efficiently, then he would be able to come in and consult and give recommendations, which would be very valuable to us as, as outsiders. Oftentimes there's things we miss.
So my father was the first convert of the Botpo tribe. 17 years of ministry as a national missionary, and we experienced the hardship of traveling. Many times being accident using motorbike because of the road is not good. I used to visit the Botpo churches twice a year or once a year, and I used the motorbike, and it took me 12 hours, 13 hours by helicopter. It will be only 20 minutes. If only someone will sponsor the helicopter fuel, the helicopter will be a great help to us to visit the churches being established in the tribe.
We have seen benefits again and again of how using a helicopter allows us to partner with the national church here in the Philippines. So we really want to come alongside the passion of New Tribes Mission and just support not only what our expat missionaries are doing here, but to be able to come alongside these church planting efforts that are coming out of the national church here in the Philippines.
We are excited to hear that aviation program of NTM in the Philippines are available even for Filipinos, and this would excite us. But all this question that comes to our mind is, how can we use the flight program where we cannot afford financial obligation for the flight? If you would support the aviation program for the Philippines, we can send more missionaries to places where only flight program can bring missionaries, and we can be more effective in bringing the gospel to where gospel has not been reached because of no access.